Yeah, we can see this slide.
Yeah. Is GP is there? Or
Yeah, I'm there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So can
Yeah,
you
you
see
can
the
see the
slide?
slide, right?
Can I get started?
Yeah, you can get started. Yeah. Oh, I think there's no need for introduction for you, Padmanabhan. Everybody knows you very well,
Yeah.
right?
No need for that's good.
If anybody has to introduce, Muthukrishnan should introduce you, right? Muthukrishnan, do you want to say something?
Muthukrishnan is muted.
Muthukrishnan, get unmute. I think we can start. I don't know what happened to Muthukrishnan.
I'll get started. So
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay,
I said if
sorry.
anybody has to say anything, Muthukrishnan has to say something.
Okay, yes,
Yeah,
I do have. I do
Yeah,
have a
okay,
lot to
good.
say. You know, it was in 1965 that I joined Indian Institute of Science, and I was so fortunate that I was immediately taken to Professor G. Padmanabhan, and then Professor Sharma was officially my mentor. But then, for all practical purposes, it was GP. He was just finishing his PhD at that time, but I did not realize what a great piece of luck it was, because he was wonderful in guiding people, not just doing how to do research, but also how to lead a life dedicated to science by his own personal example. You know, many of us in the lab at that time, Ken Subramaniam, Malti, and myself, later on M.R.S. Rao, we were all subconsciously and osmotically, absorbed a lot of those, those characteristics that would make a scientist a lifelong scientist. So I won't take any more of your time, precious time, and let's invite and welcome Professor G. Padmanabhan to tell us about his lifelong contributions. Thank you, GP.
thank you. Thank you, Muthukrishnan. Thank you. It is very generous introduction. The subject given or chosen I have is BIRAC, a game changer in biotech space in India. Next slide, please.
Ramesh.
Yeah.
Somebody, okay.
Yeah.
The entire credit goes to Dr. Maharaj Ban, who was the previous secretary of the Department of Biotechnology, one of the secretaries, let's say. He had visited the US sometime early 2000 and came in contact with the SPIR concept in US. There has been a complaint that academicians in India only publish papers and they are not being translated. So he thought SPIR is a mechanism by which industry can be directly supported. So he came back and talked to me in midnight and said, if you will chair the technical committee, I will go ahead. I said, fine, it will be a great privilege and honor for me. And that's how the Small Business Innovative Research Initiative, SBIRI, was established in 2005, where industry was supported directly by the government. And industry will provide 50% of the grant. That's how it started. And within 2-3 years, one realized there was a lot of interest in industry, contributing 50%, and they have reached somewhere. And these were all projects they had come up with. And what next? Then we realized that, SBIR is not enough. So that's how the whole, it became BIRAC. That means, next slide, please. BIRAC, Industry, Research, Assistance Council.
This is the correct slide.
In 2005, SPIR started. Around 2010 or something like that, it became BIRAC. And government made it a Section 8 company, non-profit Section 8 company with a lot of vision. It should foster innovation and entrepreneurship. It should promote affordable innovation in social sector, empowerment of startups and small medium enterprises, contribute through partners for capability enhancement, commercialization, global competitiveness, and so on. Next slide, please. So this is next slide. Yeah. The whole SPIRA started, and the entire set of schemes, what you see in this slide, came into existence, one after the other. They are very good at these acronyms. I myself don't remember expansions, but anyway, please bear with it. You have the ideation, idea. Finally, what has happened, it started with even students who are doing masters can be given, say, 15 lakhs. 15 lakhs is what? Is $1 million rupees or 1.5 million rupees, up to all the way take them to the marketplace. So the most exciting of this was the BIG grant, which I hope you can see that BIG, Biotechnology Ignition Grant. And this is what really has attracted a lot of youngsters. In fact, it has not changed, but it has become an option for PhD students who get their degree. Few of them would like to join together and start a company. Now, this concept has come. I visited IITs and so on and asked them, at least a few, 15 to 20% of the students say, no, we are not going abroad. We are going to start a company. That is because this ignition grant gives them for 18 months, 50 lakhs of rupees. 50 lakhs is 5 million rupees if their project gets selected. So ignition grant has become a very exciting option with youngsters in particular. SBIR, you have already seen. Then came what we call a biotechnology industry partnership program. So initially it was 50% contribution by the industry. Then we felt, we want to sustain this scheme. So SBIR up to 5 million rupees, you get it as a grant, 50 lakhs as a grant. But above that, any amount, you have to give 50%. Whereas the biotechnology industry partnership program, BIPP, which you see in green, is you have to contribute 50% and perhaps pay a royalty if you are succeeding commercializing your product about 5% or 4% to the BIRAC itself. As I want to remind you, BIRAC is a Section 8 company, but it's a very unique system. In a government, it is run under Department of Biotechnology, but totally independent. And I should also tell you, it has become a big office now. Almost 80% are girls. They are running the whole show, actually. They are very, many of them are PhDs or masters in biotechnology, and they have learned on their job because they offer several services. I do only the technical part, like, there is a big committee which evaluates projects and sanctions these projects and various schemes, as I said. Then there is a CRS, you see, is a contract research scheme. If somebody has succeeded, especially academia, validation becomes an issue. That means you have to do 1,000 patient samples, assays. It becomes a boring job. It will not do you a PhD. Therefore, this contract research scenes came. If you are successful, proof of concept, you can hire a company and pay them. And this is what contract risk scheme means. They will do validation in large scale and so on and so forth. So almost from the student level to young PhDs, to SBIRA, to PIPP, to contract scheme, all the way up to pilot plant and to marketplace. Then came the issue. Many of them you will see are not getting enough funds. You can run your project, say, for 5 years, 6 years. Various schemes you can go. You can go start with Ignition Grant, you can go to SBIRA, you can go to BIPP. But you can't run a company with government money. Government will only, BIRAC will only support project. Therefore, these things came, what you see at the right-hand corner, IISc fund, seed fund, leap fund. You all may be familiar what we call the valley of death. Successful small company, before they become really successful, there is no investment. That is still an issue, I should think, but it is improving day by day. So these are all bridge the gap, kind of, to take care during that period. There's called IISc fund, seed fund, leap fund. An amount of money which helps you to commercialize, just to take care of that time where you, where the company needs proof of concepts all established, but still you are not commercializing. You are not getting angel fund, you are not getting venture fund. So these are issues. This situation, I think, is slowly improving. Next slide, please. So what are all the areas? Of course, vaccines, drugs, including drug delivery, bioinformatics, agriculture, including veterinary and aquaculture, devices and diagnostics, biopharmaceuticals, energy, secondary agriculture. So almost, as you know, biotechnology covers the entire gamut of things, and therefore all are funded by the BIRAC system. Next slide, please. Now, this is just a repetition, I suppose, supporting early and late innovation research, product innovation, commercialization, enabling services. They, as I said, these girls have learned on the job, and they do a thorough IP analysis. Anyone coming with a project and then say, we have done this, we have done this, we have filed this patent, immediately they will check and let them know, how many other patents are there in that field. So similarly, future technology assessment, how things are happening elsewhere, they are able to do quite a bit of the research and then help the industry in that context as well. So it's just not support. It is also not, intellectual property, filing patents, they help them. And, this is very well organized that way. This is again, what are all BIRAC is capable of doing today. They want to establish world-class infrastructure, technical and business monitoring, entrepreneurship development, many things like this. Sorry, next slide, please. I'm using this slide. Yeah. Legal and IP support. Many times they find they need legal support, especially when they have someone has reached the commercialization stage. And next slide, please. The faculty entrepreneurship is something I will come to. This is just the Ignition grant. Numbers are given. There may be 2 years it has not been updated because of COVID and things like that. Something like, I should say, 700 or 800 total. All the schemes put together have created about so many entrepreneurs. At least 600, I should think, entrepreneurs have been created in the country. And more than 100 products have been commercialized. I will give a little more, a few more examples later on. And about 30% are women entrepreneurs. in this, 600, 700 entrepreneurs, and more than 700 projects have been supported. Not just big alone, I'm talking about the entire program. These are numbers given for each one of them. Ignition grant, how many projects are supported, what has been the investment, etc., etc. How many IPs have been generated individually. Next slide, please. Now, to manage the next slide, please. The Ignition grant, what happened was initially they used to come to Delhi and I used to go every month, and then the committee used to meet, and it became very difficult afterwards to manage so many different schemes. So we had mentors now. For example, there are what we call them as BIG partners, big partners. CCAMP, for example, in Bangalore. IKP or Knowledge Park in Hyderabad. Similarly, we have KITS, Kalinga Institute of Technology in Bhubaneswar, Venture Center in Pune, part of NCL. So like that, there are, all these, some of them I have listed, and that has not been adequate, and we have added 11 associate partners. Now, what are the role of these partners? In fact, no more the entrepreneurs, potential entrepreneurs need to come to Delhi and make a presentation. These partners themselves directly deal with them. They select the projects. For example, CCAMP in Bangalore, part of NCBS. They themselves advertise, they themselves select the candidates. And, for final thing, they used to come to Delhi. Even that, we are limited to review. Once a year, their whole, including the partners and all these companies' progress has been reviewed. Otherwise, the partners themselves deal with these ignition grants. Therefore, all over India, you have this now trying to see as many. Concern is even now, bulk of the effort is between Bangalore and Hyderabad, 60% at least. So next comes Pune, Ahmedabad, and Delhi to some extent. So we want central India to figure in this whole thing, in a big way, and that is the effort actually. Otherwise, it has been a show between Bangalore and Hyderabad actually. Next one, please. I think we have, you're going back, we have to move forward, yeah.
No, this is the next one.
That's right. So this gives you the statistics about the ignition grant, how many proposals received, how many startups were created, how many were women entrepreneurs, and so on. This number keeps changing. So next slide, please. Some of the products developed, I have another slide, so I will give you more examples later, little later. Next one, please. Now, this is the oldest scheme, as I told you, SBIR. Initially, it started in 2005, and it is still running. Similarly, we have Biotechnology Industry Partnership Program. That means SBIR graduates into BIPP. So you have a channel now. Ignition grant to SBIR to BIPP, like that. Then it will go to contract if it's scheme, and then perhaps go towards commercialization. So the entire, the route has been kind of worked out now. And, as I said, around 600, 700 entrepreneurs have been created, and about 700 to 800 projects have been supported. And, we should have looked at something like 5,000 projects. If you look at from 2005, interestingly, the interest has not waned. One worried, over a period of time, you will not get any project. It's not true. We find more and more people are coming. Of course, the same guys will come back again and again. That is one section. One will go from one scheme to the other scheme, but newer entries, at least 30 to 40% in every round. We have 3 rounds every year for advertisement, and this is happening. So this gives you a lot of hope. So the impact of SBIRA, the impact of BAPP in terms of numbers, as I said, these numbers keep changing. So we don't. Next one, please. Yes, but totally, kindly remember, it's about 700, 800 entrepreneurs, equal number of projects, and more than 100 products have been commercialized. Next one, please. I have been given all the numbers, 2020, 21, I could get the information, so I thought I should provide you how many calls were in 1 year. Of course, COVID gave a big problem for us for almost 1.5, 2 years. Of course, all the meetings are online. Anyway, my Delhi trips are completely annulled, or we don't go. Still, meetings are held only online, actually. So this, for example, it gives for SIPRI how many projects were supported, 311 projects supported, etc. Next one, please. Similarly, it also gives statistics for biotechnology industry partnership program. How many projects have been supported? You can see 56 products developed. So as I said, totally at least 100 products have been commercialized, actually. And intellectual property, each scheme many times generates its own intellectual property. At least 50%, I should say, they are going for international patents. 50% are, of course, Indian patents. They get it. Next slide, please. Now, this is the promoting academic research to enterprise. This has been one of my arguments with the government. You're supporting industry. Of course, industry is coming to academia because many of them, they realize if they have to do innovative research, they have to go to academia. But I was suggesting, experienced faculty who have spent 10 years, 15 years, should they not be supported? But the department will not agree, saying, no, they will use this money to publish more papers. So, but finally, it took 2 years, but they agreed finally. So now the experienced faculty who have worked in a field and think something they could have translated, which they did not do, because, they have to produce a PhD, etc., etc. So this is something, again, they also get 18 months support and 50 lakhs of rupees or 5 million rupees. If they want to, take some of their findings, maybe they have worked on it for 10 years, 15 years, there are translatable elements. Now, even experienced faculty are coming to BIRAC for support. This is something very, initially, the major players like IITs, IISc were not coming. All the private universities were coming. But now I find all partners at all major institutions are also coming. That means that faculty, academia is not doing translation research. It is now slowly changing. I don't say it has dramatically changed, but it is changing. Next slide, please. So impact of PACE, this is the academic research. Already you can see 1,896 proposals have been received. Projects supported is less than 10%. So much funds have been committed and 7 products have been commercialized. Because one thing I should say, most of the products, I said 100 plus products, they're all import substitutions. Or let's say of social importance, which is of course very important for the country. But we also want innovative products. I have always believed innovation will come from faculty, there are very bright people in the country, and they need to be supported. This is where the PACE concept has come. Next slide, please. Then we have this project, transformation of social innovation program, products affordable, relevant to social health. This is essentially maternal and child health, basically. It's called the SPERSH. And there are, of course, diagnostics for, during pregnancy and infection, during the mother's health, a lot of parameters, diagnostics, etc. They're all come under this program called SPERSH. SPERSH also covered under the general program, but specifically if it is maternal child health, the SPERSH is another scheme within BIRAC that can support. Next slide, please. So this is an expansion of the funding I told you for commercialization to take care of the valley of death, as you said. When companies have spent, or potential entrepreneurs have spent say 5-6 years, and they are not able to commercialize the product. Therefore, there are these kind of funds are available: ACE fund, SEED fund, LEAP fund. How much is given? All this you can get if you go to BIRAC website. All this information will be available. Next slide, please. Now, I just, the bottom part is important. It's not just innovation, products, equipment, so on. There are a lot of social responsibility. For example, constructing bio-toilets in schools in Northeast India. I just gave one example. So these are all become very relevant in India, toilet-free, bio-toilets in the country. So these are all, basic, unless you visit the rural setting or the, even in the cities, you can see the impoverished one, the kind of life they lead, what is it that we can do? I know this is a very, very important object for us. Next one, please.
What are bio-toilets, Professor?
No, this is basically, using microflora to degrade the feces and so on, basically. They have preparations, they will spray, and then, this is actually done by the army, if I remember, in the freezing temperatures of the Himalayas, in the places where how do you dispose of the, waste, human waste? And they discovered actually all the bio mechanisms which will even work at very low temperatures. That's basically the concept of bio-toilet came.
Human waste disposal, and it is even used in the Indian highway also.
Then, apart from individual schemes and projects, we have BIRAC is supporting what are called the incubators. So far now 60 incubators. Now that means each incubator will house 20-25 startups. For example, Bangalore has got incubator, which supports almost 20. Of course, it's also mainly getting supported by the state government. But the center also supports, like this 60 incubators. So each incubator may have something like 20 startups. Even some of the Hyderabad University, for example, has its own incubator. Some private players also have started generating incubators, which houses startups. And they apply to BIRAC for funding. No, you can give them equipment, common equipment, and so on. But individually, they have to apply to somewhere. And I think the most, I would think a very progressive government, Karnataka government is very progressive. Whatever the center does, they want to replicate. They also support the state level, state government is also supporting. So this is called a bio-nest. So there are, next slide, please. This gives you where are all the 60 incubators all over the country. These incubators are set up. Some of them part of, most of them are part of, I think, university. Some universities have these incubators also. Next slide, please. Then, as I said initially, even at the student level, should we create an awareness. Therefore, this is where, the Srishti came. Very small money, probably 10 lakh, 15 lakh of rupees. Even when they do their master's program, if they have a bright idea in biotech, give them funding. Like that, a few schemes have come. So that students, the idea is, to involve them right from that stage. Can we take them all the way to become entrepreneurs? This is the whole idea. Next one, please. But in spite of this, we find there are places who they don't know about BIRAC. So even, for example, somebody in Infosys or somebody in a big IT company may not have heard about BIRAC. So this is, so we thought regionally, region-wise, we should have centers which promote BIRAC. What BIRAC can do for you? What, like, southern region, western region, eastern region. Mostly, as I said, it is the southern region which is really, if you include Pune, Hyderabad, and Bangalore, they account for major initiatives. So can we, for example, eastern belt, for example, are very, very good people. We know extraordinary, academically strong, but companies are very small, very large, very small in number. Can be promoted. As I said in the beginning, can be promoted in central part of India. So these have become regional centers for BIRAC. They call the BRIC. They're very good at these acronyms. Many times I don't remember what does it stand for. But anyway, I know what they do. So these are all regional centers which promote, all, you can get assistance, where you can get assistance, what kind of assistance you can get. They run workshops, all that kind. Next slide, please. I should take another 10 minutes, maybe I'll finish. So this led to National Biopharma Mission, drug development, vaccine development. Not only that, India didn't have enough centers to do appropriate clinical trials, which is internationally accepted. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 trial, those who develop drugs would know. So finally, they got support for this separately, which is run by BIRAC, about $250 million. Half of it came from World Bank and half of it Government of India's. So I think it's a loan, in my opinion. Yes, World Bank assistance. So this is almost 4 years are over. It's a 5-year program where, for example, major projects are supported. Even during COVID time, I have a few examples to give. National Biopharma Mission has been the fulcrum for that. Now we are thinking, should we not have a national agri mission? Why only pharma? India is actually still an agri-based company. And next one, please. And BIRAC doesn't work independently in that sense. It collaborates. It comes under Department of Biotechnology, but it deals with various ministries: science and technology, health and family planning, Indian Council of Medical Research, environment, even external affairs ministry, IT ministry, and so on. It works with that. Next one, please. And there are many national, international partners. Next slide, please. Yes. Whether it is, both in India as well as outside the country, you would recognize USAID and NESTA, for example. TechS is from Finland. Similarly, France, WHO. So various Tata Trust within India. So many partners are there who interact with the BIRAC actually. Next one, please. And there are also co-funding. For example, BIRAC Welcome Trust, for catching infectious diseases early. Projects are supported under this program. So money only need not come from BIRAC, it comes from that, but these are all managed separately. There are separate committees for all these. BIRAC, Wellcome Trust, USAID, IKP is from Hyderabad-based Knowledge Park. Similarly, the French one. So there is another BIRAC Nesta targeting antimicrobial resistance. So they all invite projects and they are supported. Next slide, please. So basically, if you still see 65% is biopharma revenues right now. And agri is still very small. It's over 14% I have given. This is a little earlier, but it has not changed very much. So bulk of it is pharma, is about 14-15% in agri and industry and services. IT, bioinformatics is also a small part actually. Now it is more and more you see AI-based projects come for support. Many of them come actually. Next slide, please. So the present turnover is of the order of something like $70 billion. The startups have become over 4,237 number. This is the reason, fairly recent 2021 figures I'm giving. So the next slide, please. The government says, you have made, initially they said you should have a turnover of $100 billion by 2025. They have now increased to $150 billion. And people are confident this will be reached. Next slide. A couple of slides on agriculture, I should say, I don't want to spend much time, but we suffer because of lack of policy initiative in the country. For example, India developed BT brinjal, but you may remember, some of you, the previous government put a ban on BT brinjal, and that ban has still not been lifted. But the clone has been used by Bangladesh. And apparently, brinjal or eggplant is a major crop in Bangladesh, and they're using it. So, I was joking, if it is there in Bangladesh, it must have crossed over to Calcutta, already. So we are, this is what happened with BT cotton. Initially, I'm a supporter of, I should say, GM technology. But Government of India's policy is not clear. So that's technology application to agriculture is suffering of that. This is one example. Next slide, please. I want to give another example. This is Dr. Deepak Pental in Delhi University, South Campus, developed this mustard. India imports 50,000 crore worth of edible oil. He developed this mustard hybrid, which is, of course, bar star, barness, this is male sterility and so on, which is involved. And it increases the yield by 30%. But is still not allowed even to trial in farmers' fields. So this, I feel, is a policy initiative. Despite all the proclamation, we don't know where does the government stand. The same thing is happening even to gene editing. Gene editing application in agriculture. Would the government support it? They support research, all right. But if you have a commercial product, would they support it? This is not very clear. So the agri is suffering, in my opinion, because of lack of clear policy initiative. Next slide, please. I have given you examples of some of the products developed, ocular lens, then you see biostimulant agri, you have osteo-conducive bone graft, fibro heal for wound management. I have given you, flexi, very, very fancy names. They give this for a fractured bone. Immunodiagnostic for detection of autoimmune diseases. I can go on reading. So there are, about, as I said, more than 100 products have been commercialized. Next slide, please. I have given some examples of, most of them are devices and diagnostics. Most of them are devices and diagnostics. And we have not done much in terms of drug development. It takes a long, as we know, several years, so we don't see much. And a few agri products like orchid hybrids or a few products have been there. Next one, please. I quickly want to cover, BIRAC was involved in this COVID response, SARS-2. Several proposals were received, and BIRAC is spearheading the whole effort on this. Next slide, please. Basically, it's on diagnostics, vaccine development, other interventions, novel therapeutics, and repurposing of drug. This is for SARS-2 or COVID. Next slide, please. So India has its own promising vaccine candidates for COVID. DNA vaccine, Zydus Cadila is a company that is as you know, spike protein is the target. They have developed a DNA vaccine. They have released it also, but it's not still become a major product as such. There's a spike protein vaccine, recombinant protein vaccine by Biological E in Hyderabad. An interesting vaccine, it is almost ready, I should say, Genova in Pune, self-amplifying messenger RNA. As you know, the two companies, the Pfizer and Moderna, have mRNA vaccine, but that is not the self-amplifying mRNA. So we have a self-amplifying mRNA vaccine candidate. And of course, a nasal vaccine, which is developed by Bharat Biotech, being developed. Next slide. Just to, in case you want to know what is the self-amplifying messenger RNA, not get into great detail, but still it is, a clone which has both DNA-dependent RNA polymerase and RNA-dependent RNA polymerase. Therefore, the spike protein RNA that is formed gets amplified, in a shot. It's from the alpha virus. They have 4 genes. Additionally, they have put. This is something very, very novel. That means the dosage of the vaccine can be very, very small. This is a company called Genova in Pune, and they are almost phase 3 clinical trial towards the end phase. But the two real ones which are in the field today are Covishield and Covaxin. As you know, this is the Serum Institute, which is a major producer of the Oxford vaccine. This is a chimp adeno vector-based vaccine. And Covaxin developed by Bharat Biotech, which is based on whole viral vaccine. The virus was isolated initially at NIV Pune. And these are the two vaccines actually in the field today. All the examples that I gave you are under development, or I should far advanced. I should say in a few months they should be ready. And even if the COVID ends at this point of time, we still, next slide, we tell you how many still remain to be vaccinated in India. Percent of population fully vaccinated is 54.7%. These are February 14th. And single dose is 70%. Therefore, the country is having hope, target to vaccinate everyone. Initially, they said, health workers, it's going step by step, but ultimately now next thing is children. And now they said 12 to 18 years should be vaccinated, and then they will go for less than 5 to 12, and so on. These are the strategies that are needed actually. Next
one good thing is she did not develop any issues.
Can you say it again?
No, there was a side tag. You can continue.
It's a side tag. I think they have to mute the microphone.
GP, you can continue.
Yeah.
Can I go ahead?
Yeah,
Yes.
Go ahead. Yes. No.
Okay. Now, BIRAC also, involved in sequencing all the patient samples in the viral genome. And this is known as IISc. Of course, the media is, hounding out, I should say, what is India doing? But, of course, we have, for example, you would see we have 100,000 plus sequences, which is a minuscule of what has been sequenced internationally. But even so, the problems in a large number of institutions are involved, but still interaction between ICMR and DBT and getting clinical samples with the history of clinical history. There have been several problems. But in spite of that, for all this green, will tell you the delta stream, and the scarlet or the color you see at the end is now Omicron. So by sequencing, one is able to follow, and there is a separate committee for this, what is called the Indian SARS-CoV-2 Genomics Consortium. It's called the IISc. So almost every alternate day, IISc will figure in the newspaper and what is IISc doing, this, but in spite of that, something is being done. Next slide, please. So I should, even if you can go to the next slide, these are all, pious wishes, what we think we should be creating, nurtures innovation to reach its fullest potential, maximize benefits for those that need the most. So I don't want to read the whole thing, but it is. But I should say this is a very, very something very new in India. That Section 8 company, which is successfully run under a government system, it still belongs to the Department of Biotechnology. Interacting with several partners and promoted the whole area. It's something very one can be proud of, I believe. Next slide, please. So what is the lacunae before I close? As I said, policy initiatives. In agriculture, for example, I gave you, we don't know where we stand on GM technology. We don't know where we stand on gene editing so far as agriculture is concerned. So synthetic biology is being talked about, but we are very, very early game. Role of private sector, unlike IT, interestingly, the whole IT sector was pioneered by private sector, but whereas biotech is still being pushed by government. Slowly, private sector is entering. Private sector is a beneficiary of government funding, actually. And the point is, impact of COVID, we do not know. Are we in the next slide? No, okay. Can you go back? Yeah, lacunae. There is one slide on lacunae. Impact of COVID, a lot of money has been diverted to for the COVID. So there is a worry among faculty and academia whether funding of our R&D would be an issue. We don't know at this point of time. Next slide, please. But there is a lacunae and also hope. India is still a long way to go. COVID exposed, I think previous slide, exposed the healthcare deficiencies from oxygen supply to reagents to make diagnosis. You might have read, we were not having enough oxygen supply in hospitals, and we still reagents to make diagnostic. As we know, we still import a lot of things. All the reagents for research, for example, I should think 80% of the reagents are still imported. We are not making in the country. But at least COVID is concerned, India tried very quickly to fill up the gaps. Now we have enough oxygen supply. There are 1,400 plus centers which do diagnostics. RT-PCR. RT-PCR is becoming a household word in India. Everybody understands what they don't understand, but they know the word RT-PCR. I should say a joke. I don't know. You see, in South India we make sambar, and it seems the lady forgot to add salt, so they couldn't taste the sambar. So immediately the entire family said you should go for RT-PCR. So it is so familiar. RT-PCR is so familiar in India. But to end. Bayrak is indeed, I believe, despite all our lackness, despite India's long way to go, innovative strategy to support small and medium enterprises. And it has drawn youngsters to this space, biotech space. A lot of youngsters know about it. And we are doing every mechanism to promote. So there is new hope and energy to embark on path of entrepreneurship and make in India. I am done. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Padmanabhan.
Thank you.
Ramesh, you can close the slides here. Stop
Yeah.
sharing the screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a very good talk, Padmanabhan. Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Very good coverage of the BRAC activities. Yeah.
And also we're happy to see that so many products are coming out because of this BIRAC.
That's true.
Commercialization is something which we have been talking about all the time, and then to see so many products coming out, especially in the biotech area, it's really very encouraging. And also, we try to collaborate with the people in India who want to develop products, and I think now we have a much better understanding of how they can get funding also.
That's true. They may not support, but they do support. They don't support directly people outside the country, but you can start a company in India in somebody's name, and then can get support.
Actually, we were not even trying to make any money. We were trying to do pro bono. All the consulting we are doing, especially we work with some people in the institute also. I don't have to name the person, but we want to encourage people to do more product oriented research also.
That's right.
Padmanabhan was speaking.
Yes, we could not hear very well. Who is this?
The voice is breaking.
Yes.
Is that Ranganathan?
Maybe.
No.
Anyway, Professor GP, I have a question. It
Tell
looks
me.
like most of 85% of the Indians are already been exposed to the COVID virus. Do we still need to go through the vaccination exercise?
No, but exposed, yes, they are exposed to, but I don't know how long the antibodies are functional. No?
That is true for even vaccinated after vaccination too, right?
No, what they are thinking is, if they at least get 2 doses,
Okay.
by the time, the virus may probably weaken adequately. This is what the virus may weaken. I think it's already weakened in India. It's on that.
Dr. Padmanabhan, I have an answer for that one. I have a clinical lab in Chicago. We do a lot of the COVID-19 IgG testing. People have both vaccine, fully vaccinated. Some
Yes.
people come and their IgG is negative, completely negative, but some people is positive. And so from your suggestion, then once their IgG is negative, then they need a booster shot. Is that right?
That's right. So, in fact, they say if somebody is infected after vaccination, that is a booster. Yeah.
That is true.
Because
The
I don't
Ramesh
think
has the answer.
vaccination doesn't prevent infection. It only prevents severity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So in other words, when one should get vaccinated and then get infected to get the booster dose.
Subara, with your permission, maybe I can add a little bit here. The reason you need to keep developing the vaccine is because if there are mutants, future mutants, that already vaccinated people are also vulnerable. That's one. Of course, and as Professor mentioned, that your antibodies are declining, so you need boosters, but other reason. And for that matter, I think there's a lot of effort right now to focus on creating a sort of a broadly protective COVID vaccine. There are several labs that are working on that to protect against not just COVID as one of the one element of that broad class of viruses, but also broadly protective. And that's a very big task because, as you know, influenza has been known for 70 years. Common cold has been there. So there have been efforts to make a broadly protective vaccine there as well. But here, I think there's a lot of focus, a lot of money that's made available. Second point I wanted to just mention is, Professor, that BIRAC was very instrumental in the BioE in collaboration with the organization that's based in Norway, CEPI, because I was actually working on that particular legal agreement. So thanks to BIRAC that they got the funding for some of the work that BioE was doing. And I think that's a great effort.
Recombinant protein vaccine.
Yes.
Yeah.
The BioE, they're making the vaccine from the one that developed by Baylor College, I guess, right?
Correct. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
It was initially also funded by the Gates Foundation. Then
Gates Foundation, yes.
Yeah, and then CEPI, which is the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness, their focus is to make sure vaccines are going to be distributed to those countries where they don't have their own resources. And that COVAX facility was created for that. And BioE is committed to providing, just like Serum Institute is doing, they're also committed to providing vaccine doses to that facility.
Professor GP, I have a question. Is there any comparison between the Covaxin and Covishield data in terms of disease or the secondary effects of the COVID infection? Because one is the whole virus, other is just a piece of protein.
Yeah. No, but there has been this controversy discussion, but ultimately they say Covaxin being a whole virus may be better than a single protein target, whether it is DNA or RNA or protein. It's a spike protein all the time. Only problem with this Covaxin is the yield of the virus is low. So, for example, if you look at the vaccine situation, it accounts only for 15% of the vaccination. 85% is still Serum Institute Covishield. So the production, they are trying to replicate it in different places, but the yield of the vaccine is very low. That's the one problem with Covaxin, whole virus. I think the cell line, the virus doesn't grow very well there. So the yield of the vaccine is very low. So it covers only 15% of the vaccinations. 85% is still by Serum Institute vaccine.
That's why I think maybe the mRNA-based vaccines may be the way of future, because you will be able to get more of the protein where you want it. And also you might be able to combine, even potential variants as they arise. So you could have a multivalent vaccine, starting with a mixture of mRNA. So is that what you are thinking is? Or?
No, here they are more, whether the mutation, if there is a new mutant, they can make it within 2-3 months, they can get the new vaccine, if it is an mRNA vaccine.
Let me help you.
That is the one big advantage. Otherwise, other vaccines will take quite a while.
Okay. Thank you. I'm still waiting for Mr. Himesh. He's not here yet. So I thought soon after he comes, he can set up that, the Google Meet and
please mute your
He's talking. We have to mute the.
I can't hear well.
Yes, I think he was side conversation.
Yeah.
He's in a different conversation. We have to mute the people.
Yes. I am here until 5-6 o'clock. All right. Okay.
Anyway, BioE is projected to make 100 million doses per month once they are fully, engaged in the production. So that will help a lot, increasing the number of people who can be vaccinated, because 100 million per month is a very large number.
Good.
This is Venkateswaran. Thanks for your excellent presentation, Professor GP. In fact,
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I had an opportunity to work in one of the projects for the biopharma mission with the University of Manipal and the ICGB and all for the dengue vaccine. And the way in which the whole thing was done is outstanding, because I have seen many projects, SBIR or other NIH projects and all here, but the way in which the whole review process did, and I mean, it's really not only professional, but it's very timely. It is almost like, I mean, it's not like a grant, it is a contract. So they really engaged with the performers and then made suggestions and asked them to modify. And I mean, outstanding that they have done. And I think Bairak has done, or is doing excellent.
I think the credit really goes to Maharaj Ban. You know, if he had not introduced that SBIRI, no, we wouldn't have been where we are today. He was the one who really thought of the whole idea, actually. Yeah.
I mean, it's an excellent speed, but still, you know, it is the way in which it is done and it is being done is outstanding, actually.
Exactly. So the credit also goes to you, Professor, because Professor GP, you ran it. You ran it very well. So somebody can start it, but running it is a critical thing. And you did it looks like it's a pretty good job of running this Bairak program.
It is, you know, your technical guidance as well as Dr. Renu Swarup when she was.
No, but I should also tell you, I have told these people I'm stepping down. I'm 84. So I said, enough. I have had 40 years of association with DBT. So I said, this is something, you know, every year they say one more year, one more year. This time I said, I am making the call. I am stepping down.
Have you identified a successor?
But actually, Padmanabhan, you must be attending more meetings now than before.
No. Subbarao was the one who really started clinical science in our department, P.V. Subbarao.
Yes.
He was the one who really started. He had a clinic every Thursday. Subbarao, am I right?
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, the allergy clinic, yeah.
Allergy clinic, yes, you are right.
Dr. Padmanabhan, I have a question.
Yeah.
We have here in US, SPIR and STTR. STTR is where you have an academic professor collaborating with industry, and they can apply for the SPIR similar grant, and they can develop something together. Is that something similar that we have there? You may have already mentioned it, maybe I missed it, or you have a plan, something like that, so that you can actually both make a partnership between an industry and an academia.
No, we have, as I said, we have this PACE program where we support the academia.
Okay.
And academia are free to collaborate with industry. Absolutely, there is no issue.
So they will stop. Oh yeah, that's good. Then it's fine, right? Yeah.
Okay.
And also this contract research scheme is there, where you know, if academia have developed something, they can give a whole thing to industry for validating, in a large scale validation. As a contract, they can give it to industry.
Okay, good. Any other questions? Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Good.
And those who want to leave can leave, and those who want to stay, hang on, can stay, hang on, and talk more. Thank you, Professor GP. That was
Thank you,
thank you, Dr. Padmanabhan.
Thank you, all of
Thanks
you.
a lot. Thank you.
Okay.
For those who are in India,
good
probably
night,
it is
yeah.
getting late. Yeah.
You know,
Suraj, thank
Dr.
you, Suraj.
Padmanabhan, I want to say something to Dr. Padmanabhan. You know, I
Tell me.
saw Dr. Padmanabhan in University of Chicago in 1980. He was looking totally different. Now he looks very different. I'm seeing him after 40 years. Hello, Dr. Padmanabhan. Nice.
I am
seeing
fine.
you.
I am fine. Thank you.
Padmanabhan,
Thank you. Yeah, yeah.
Padmanabhan, do you have any picture with Modi? I want to compare.
I'll send you by mail.
Please.
Dr. GP, this is CK. I want to wish you many more years of health,
Thank you,
happiness,
CK.
and success.
Thank you. Very nice of you. Thank you so much. Yeah, yeah.
Bye.
Padmanabhan, I wanted to ask you, are you still singing, in the Carnatic music? I know, I remember when I was in
Yeah, I do. I do.
Okay.
Maybe some other Saturday I will sing you a song.
Yeah, that will be terrific. Yes, yes, yes.
Maybe we can have a program of singers. From the IISc.
Yeah, we'll have a music program in the Zoom
Some
call.
other Saturday I can do that. No problem.
Yeah, good.
Who was your guru for vocal? I think you were accompanying somebody, right? I remember.
Yeah. That was, one GK Ramachandran.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
learned music from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
thank you,
learned
Dr.
for
Pasha.
almost 13, 14 years of music I learned.
Very good.
Okay. Thank you,
Okay,
Subbarao.
thank you,
Thanks
Dr.
very
Thanks a
much.
lot. Thank you very
Good
much.
night.
Yeah.
Good night.
Bye.
Good
Yeah.
day.
Good night. We'll be in touch. Yeah.
Got a pretty good gathering today.
Yeah.
About 32 people.
Yeah, whenever Dr. GP